So, Mr. Ryan Chepulis, you have been convicted of 52 counts of murder, and the judge has decided that you will be executed. So, one of the options to be executed in would be lethal injection. It's by far the most popular form of execution. Uh, about 85.5% of people have been executed with lethal injection.
How long will it take?
Well, it's going to take 7 minutes, and the problem is you're going to be the people performing the execution will be prison employees, not actual medical professionals. But the drugs used would be, one of them would be, the first one is pentanol, which is a barbiturate that's like makes you unconscious. The second one would be pavilone. It inhibits muscular skeletal movement, so it's going to stop you from breathing. And the third one is potassium chloride. So it's going to contract your heart and it's going to induce a cardiac arrest. So those are the three drugs they're going to inject you with. It's actually possible to botch it, where prison employees don't administer enough drugs and you might leave with chemical burns and still alive. Lethal injection is used in 36 states. We're going to have three experts talk to you about the other alternative methods: firing squad, hanging, gas chamber, and the electric chair.
Hi, I'm Dr. Lewis and I'm the expert on hanging and the electric chair. So the first method of hanging is the most modern and most commonly used method. That's called the long drop. Now we're going to have somebody come in and calculate based on your weight and height and your body type the height of the drop that it needs to do in order to break your neck and sever your spine. Generally the rope is going to be between 5 and 9 feet, and it's going to be between 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch and a quarter in diameter. It's going to be boiled and stretched out, and so there's no spring or coiling in the rope. Now, this doesn't always work out too well. If the drop's too long, you could be decapitated. That happens sometimes. And if the drop is too short, then you'll most likely die of strangulation or slow asphyxiation, and that takes a lot longer to actually happen. And your face would become engorged, the tongue would protrude, your eyes might pop, your limbs are going to be moving violently, and your body might defecate itself. When your neck breaks and your spine severs, your blood pressure is going to drop down to 0 in about a second. After that, you're going to lose consciousness, your brain will die in the next few minutes, and then in about 15 minutes from that, then your body will actually be pronounced dead. The long drop is considered the most humane method of hanging. When it comes to this, it's typically you're only going to suffer for probably a few seconds or a few minutes, so it would be done pretty quickly. Now there are other different types of hanging. These are more traditional, older techniques. You really typically use them nowadays, but there's still options. There's the short drop, and this is pretty much it happens very similar to the long drop. It's just instead of a longer drop, we purposely drop you short and you die by strangulation or compression of the arteries in the neck. What also could happen is it's called the vagal reflex, which is the compression of the vagal nerve, and this would cause your heart to stop. Then there's also suspension hanging. Suspension hanging is where you're yanked up and held up there until they're dead. This takes a lot longer to happen, and because of this, most countries choose not to hang them by this method, and some countries that are pretty twisted, they actually use this to punish criminals instead of just killing them. In Austria, Czechoslovakia, and Hungary, they use this pretty unique method of hanging called pole hanging, and either this one you don't use a gallows. There's a pole that they would stick into the ground about 2 to 3 meters in height, and a noose will be attached to the end, and it'll be made out of a thin cord instead of a thick rope. And this is done by another, a hangman is what he's called, and he walks up to the stairs next to you, ties the noose around your neck, and then it actually pulls you down and you hang on the rope until you're dead. In the U.S., it's legal in Washington and Delaware besides here, and 3 people have been hanged since the death penalty was reinstituted in 1976. Until the 1890s, hanging was the primary method of execution in the U.S., and the last hanging to take place here was January 25th, 1996. The electric chair replaced hanging as the leading method of execution up until the lethal injection was introduced. Now, the U.S. Supreme Court Justice William Brennan described electrocution as the prisoner's eyeballs sometimes pop out and rest on his cheeks. The prisoner often defecates, urinates, and vomits blood and drool. The body turns bright red as its temperature rises, and prisoner's flesh swells and his skin stretches to the point of breaking. Sometimes the prisoner catches fire. Witnesses hear a loud and sustained sound like bacon frying, and the sickly sweet smell of burning flesh permeates the chamber. Now, you're going to receive a jolt of between 500 and 2,000 volts, and it's going to last for about 30 seconds. And after that, we're going to wait for 15 minutes for your body to cool down. For death.
What if I don't die?
Well, if you're not dead after the first shock of 30 seconds, then we're going to repeat the process until death occurs. Death via electrocution is still legal in 8 U.S. states, and it's listed as cruel and inhumane in the majority of the other states. 156 people have been executed with an electric chair since 1976, and the average cost for an inmate to be put to death is $1,170. So all I have for you, Mr. Chepulis. I'm going to be calling in Dr. Brewis, the expert on firing squad, to come in and talk to you next.
Hello, Mr. Chepulis.
Who are you?
I'm the expert on firing squad execution, and my name is Dr. Brewis. A firing squad is a form of capital punishment where a group of chosen people line up and shoot guns at the restricted and constrained prisoner. Most of the time, some of the guns fire blanks, it's not a real bullet, they don't hurt you, it just makes it feel like it's a real bullet. But then either 2 or 3 of the 5 people, it's usually a group of 5 people, those have the live rounds. The reason that they fire blanks is that so the people who are shooting don't know who the actual killer is. Now, execution by firing squad was common in military and wartime, and during the Civil War, this method was used fairly common due to a lot of traitors. So the last execution by firing squad occurred in June 2010 when Ronnie Lee Gardner was executed. Now, this form of execution is only legal in Oklahoma, and that's if the primary method is unavailable, which is lethal injection. Currently, they're trying to bring back this method of execution in Utah. The bill's right now it's in Congress, but we'll see if it comes back. However, with this method, there are some errors. So an example is in 1879, Wallace Wilkerson was executed by a firing squad. During this execution, the firing squad missed his heart, and it took him 27 minutes for him to die. This method of execution has been declining in the recent years, so since 1976 there has only been 3 executions, and that's a result of people saying that it's barbaric. And so now I'm going to be calling Dr. Lewis to talk to you about death by gas chamber.
Hello, Mr. Chepulis. I am Dr. Lewis. I am the expert in the gas chamber.
Nice pajamas.
Well, the gas chamber was first introduced in 1924. It was tried to be used on an inmate named G. John. The Nevada prison staff first tried to pump the cyanide gas into John's cells when he slept. This proved impossible because the gas leaked from his cell, so the gas chamber was constructed. During the gas chamber execution method, the condemned person is strapped to a chair in an airtight chamber. Below the chair rests a pail of sulfuric acid. A long stethoscope is typically affixed to the inmate so that the doctor outside the chamber can pronounce his death. Once everyone has left the chamber, the room is sealed tight, and the warden gives the symbol to the prison staff to turn the cyanide gas on. This causes a chemical reaction that releases hydrogen cyanide gas. According to former San Quentin, California penitentiary warden Clinton Duffy, at first there's evidence of extreme horror, pain, and strangling. The eyes pop, the skin turns purple, and the victim begins to drool. The criminal does not die from the harmful gas, but dies from hypoxia, which is the cutting off of oxygen to the brain. After the condemned person has died, an exhaust fan sucks the poison out of the chamber, and the corpse is sprayed with ammonia to neutralize any remaining traces of cyanide. About half an hour later, orderlies enter the chamber wearing gas masks and rubber gloves. They ruffle the hair to make sure all sign of the gas can escape, and pronounce the man dead. It costs about $300,000 just to build one single gas chamber, and only $1.80 to get the gas. This is still used in the Arizona, California, Missouri, and Wyoming. In fact, capital punishment does not deter murder rates. The murder rate in 1991 for death penalty states was 9.94, and in 2011 it was 4.89. While the murder rate in 1991 for non-death penalty states was 9.27, and in 2011 it was 4.13. Even though the murder rates have dropped, it's still higher in death penalty states. It is tradition for a death row inmate to get one last meal right before they're put to death. Is there any specific that you would like to eat?
Give me pizza.
Alright, we can get you a pizza. Here you go, Mr. Chepulis. Here's your pizza that you ordered. And after you've heard every single execution style that you're able to take, which one would you like to choose to die by?
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I choose injection.